1-7, three-dimensional figures. So the section before this was 2D figures, and now we're talking about 3D figures. The concept is the same, but it's obviously different shapes. So we're going to have different names and different formulas and stuff like that, right? So the first one is a polyhedron. Before we had a polygon, right? So this is a polyhedron. Remember, the polygon had to be closed, not cross over itself, all that kind of stuff. So a polyhedron is a solid. You guys get a solid is like a 3D shape, like that box is a solid, right? A solid with all flat surfaces that enclose a single region of space. We'll get to examples in a second. A face is each flat surface. An edge is each line segment where the faces intersect. A vertex is the point where three or more edges intersect. So you already knew all that. What would I call this? The face, right? What would I call this? Edge, right? What about that right there? Vertex. Very good. So you guys already knew all that, okay? Then we have a prism and a pyramid. Again, I think if I were just to show you a picture and say, is this a prism or a pyramid, you'd probably know that. A prism is, let's look at, turn your notes and look at number 14. You see number 14? Do you think that's a prism or a pyramid? A prism, right? You guys knew that. I don't think I have any pictures of a pyramid on here, but you guys know like the pyramids of Egypt. You know what a pyramid looks like, okay? So a prism has two parallel, you guys get parallel, right? Where? Oh, on yours I do, on mine I don't. Just kidding. Okay, good. So look at your picture. A prism is two parallel congruent faces called bases connected by parallelogram faces. Parallelograms look like a rectangle, but they're called a parallelogram because they have two pairs of parallel opposite sides. A pyramid is a polygonal base, so that means any polygon is the base. So you could have a triangle as a base, you could have a square as a base, you could have a pentagon as a base. Those would all be fine. It's a polygonal base and three or more triangular faces that meet at a common vertex. So as you said, look at your picture. You've got a prism right underneath the prism, and you've got a pyramid right underneath the word pyramid. There you go. Cylinders, cones, and spheres are not polyhedrons. Why not? Why are they not polyhedrons? Mm-hmm. Hold on, go ahead. That's all right. Okay, yeah, so they have curves, right? Basically is what he was saying. So if you go back to polygons, remember if it had a curve or an arc, it wasn't a polygon. So same thing, it's not a polyhedron then. So if you look at a cylinder, it's curved, a cone curved, a sphere curved, so they're not polyhedron, okay? All right, they're named by the shape of their bases. So for example, let's look at the pyramid under your picture that says pyramid. That looks to me like, I don't know if that's a square or a rectangle, so I'm going to call it a rectangle. I would say that's a rectangular pyramid. You name it by the bases, okay? So you could have a triangular prism, a rectangular prism, a pentagonal prism. That means the two parallel sides or whatever shape I just said, a triangle or a rectangle or a pentagon. And then the pyramids, triangular pyramid, rectangular pyramid, pentagonal pyramid means the base, the one on the bottom, would be those shapes. Is that okay? When we get to pictures, I think it'll make more sense. Regular polyhedrons, go back to the word regular from the other day. All the sides are the same congruent and all the angles are the same congruent, right? So same concept. All faces are regular congruent polygons, and then those are called platonic solids. There's exactly 5 platonic solids. So I'm not going to draw those. If you guys could open up your book to page 68 really quickly, I want you to see what those look like. While you're doing that, the names are tetrahedron, hexahedron, a cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron. Okay? So go there because I do want you to see those. Yeah, page 68. I think it's in the lower left. I think all these are in a list. So those are our regular polyhedrons. Those are our platonic solids. That means all the faces are regular polygons. Okay? In this class, every 9 weeks you do an X credit project. This is something that would be probably pretty easy to do. You can make those yourself out of paper. You could look into it a little bit more. There's lots of choices. So when we start thinking about our X credit project, that's something you could do. Please don't everybody pick it, but that's something that you can kind of keep in mind. Okay? We're not going to need our books again, so if you'd like to put that away, you can. If you want to keep it out, that's fine too. Okay, I don't have you memorize those, by the way. I just wanted you to see them. Okay, so we're talking about surface area and volume today. Surface area is called the capital T. If you use SA, I'm fine with that, but it's called the capital T. Surface area is the sum of the areas of each face. Volume is the amount of space enclosed. You guys have known this for forever, right? Surface area of a shape is if I were wrapping a present, how much wrapping paper, if I wasn't like folding it and taping it, how much wrapping paper would I need to cover the present, right? That's surface area. And then volume is if I were filling it with something, like if I were to take that empty box back there and fill it with Rice Krispies, how much would it hold? Does that make sense to you, right? So we have a bunch of different formulas. Back in junior high, you guys memorized or had a bunch of formulas. This time, we try to make it a bit easier for you. There's really just like one formula, and then you fill it in with what you know. So what I'm saying is, you figure out if you're talking about a prism or on yours, you've got a prism, a regular pyramid, a cylinder, a cone, a sphere. You figure out what shape we're talking about, right? So mine's going different than yours is, so look at whichever one you want, but the concept's the same. So for a prism, it's T equals pH plus 2B. If you don't know what those mean, that's a problem, right? So underneath yours and mine, it says what everything stands for. P stands for perimeter of what? What's yours say? Perimeter of base, right? That's very specific. That matters. And then this H is the height. Height is fine, but you might want to tell yourself it's the height of the prism, or it's the height of the cone, or it's the height of the pyramid, or whatever. Okay. And then this capital B is the area of the base. That might be new to you. It's super easy to do, but it might be new to you. So really, we're just memorizing these two formulas, and then we're kind of filling it in with whatever we know, essentially. So I'll show you what to do when we get there. So on the test, I let you use a note card. All those formulas probably should be on there, right? Identify the solid modeled by each object. So give it a name. That's what that means. Then tell if it's a polyhedron or not. Okay? What name is this shape? A cone. Is it a polyhedron? Yes or no? Not a polyhedron. Why? Because it's arced, right? It's not straight lines. It's not, it's arced. That's fine. What's the shape? Very good. We don't know that that's a cube, if you were wanting to say that, right? If they had told me that all these sides were the same, I would have called it a cube probably, or a square prism, but we didn't know that. So this is a rectangular prism. Is that a polyhedron, yes or no? Yes. Anybody confused at all? Super easy so far, right? Anyone still need that? Okay. Determine whether the solid is a polyhedron, yes or no. Then identify it, give it a name. If it is a polyhedron, is what they're saying, name the bases, faces, edges, and vertices. Label everything is kind of what they're asking for. Okay. So first of all, is this a polyhedron? Yes. What is this? Triangular prism. Does everybody understand that it's a prism at least? Right? And then the basis, the parallel sides are triangles, so it's a triangular prism. Is that okay? Okay. Next part, we have to identify all this stuff. So let's name the bases. What shape is the base? The bases, the parallel sides. The triangles, okay? So I've got triangle, I'll call it KLJ. What's the other one? PNM would be fine. You could have called it anything in any order. You can go clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't matter at all. So if I say KLJ, you could have said KJL. You could have said JLK. All those are fine. Is that okay? All right. So we did the bases. Now we're going to do the faces. These are all parallelograms. The way you say parallelogram is kind of like a rectangle on its side. Do you guys see how that's kind of like slanted? Okay. So parallelogram, again, you can go clockwise or counterclockwise. What you can't do is like cross itself. So what I'm saying is if I'm talking about this one on the left, okay, I can say PKJM. I can say MJKP, anything like that. I cannot say PJKM. I can't do it that way. You either go clockwise or counterclockwise, but you start wherever you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to say PKJM. Is everybody okay with that? And then we should have two more, right? Parallelogram. Let's do the one on the right. Somebody name it for me. KLNP. That'd be fine. KLNP. And one more. Oops, pretend that was slanted more. The bottom. And then L what? Yeah. You got the left side, got the right side, and you got the bottom. We have three parallelograms. There's our faces. Edges. Okay, I'll give you one of them. It's a line segment. I'll say PK. All the line segments. So give me another one. MJ would be fine. JL. NM, we have it said. NL. MP, is that what you said? Okay. All of them. Yep. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't have to go like PK, KP. No, you don't have to do forward and backward. I heard JK. Is that what you said? Yeah. Okay. I think we need two more. PN. Are we missing LK? Is that it? Okay. Then vertices. What's a vertex? Pick one. A vertex is just one dot. P. Give me another one. K. L. J. M. N. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yep, 6 of them. So I know that's tedious, but it's really easy, right? Anybody confused at all? We answered everything? Yeah. Okay. Anybody still need that page? We good? Okay. Determine whether it's a polyhedron. Is this a polyhedron? What is this, by the way? A sphere, right? So it's not a polyhedron. Identify it. You guys said sphere. If it is a polyhedron, do all the stuff we just did. It is not, so don't. Done. Everybody okay? All right. Find the surface area and the volume. I understand in a question like this, back in junior high, you could find the surface area by finding the area of each piece and adding them all up together sometimes, right? That's still fine. I don't care. But eventually that won't work. You won't have enough information to be able to do it that way. We're going to be missing different pieces. So I'm going to show you these new, probably I'm guessing new formulas for you. So I think it'd be best for you to at least try it now when they're easy. So that way when they do get hard, you know how to do it. Does that make sense? Now, if this was a test and you could do it any way you want to, right? You could find the area of each side and add them up. That's okay, but eventually that's not going to be an option, okay? So let's try it the new way, probably. So surface area, what shape do we have here? It is a cube. What is it, though? Be less specific. It's square prism. Yeah, rectangular prism, square prism, because it's a special one. So we're going to look at our prism formula. So you guys have the page before this, right? For the surface area of a prism, it's at pH plus 2b. Does everybody see that? I'm going to write that down. If you don't like the T, you can call it an SA for surface area. I'm okay with that. Okay. So pH plus 2b. All right. P stands for the perimeter of the base. On a square prism, on a cube, couldn't I call any of them the base, really? Yeah. Right? Typically, most people pick the bottom one, right? So if I'm talking about the bottom as the base, the perimeter is going to be 4.5 times 4 of them, right? If you really wanted to, you could say 4.5 plus 4.5 plus, right? But I just said 4.5 times 4, okay? And then the height of the prism is what? This would be the height of it, right? 4.5. Plus that 2, capital B. What shape is the base? Square. What's the area of any square? Technically, they say side squared. Some of you guys call it length times width. Some of you guys call it side times side, but technically side squared, right? So what's one of these sides? 4.5. squared. So everybody at least understand where I got everything from. Basically, anything you could fill in this question, we filled in with a 4.5 because they were all 4.5, right? So from here, use your calculator. Most of you have one where you can just plug this whole thing in and you don't have to really do much on your own. If you don't have a calculator where you can see the whole thing on the screen, that's fine. It's still doable, but you might want to like find out what this is, and then add them together. So pick something, okay? Round to the nearest tenth. Everybody plug it in. I want to see everybody punching buttons on your calculator that you bring every single day because it's a math class. Wink. If you have a calculator like mine, I love my calculator. It works for me. But if you have one like mine, you probably can't plug that whole thing in. That's kind of hard to do. You probably want to do like the left half, the right half, and then combine them after that. Okay. Anybody think you have it? Just shout it out. 121.5 meters squared because it's area. Take your time, get it right. If you didn't, try it again, or let me see what you did. You probably just forgot a parenthesis somewhere or something. Oh, okay. Slow down, maybe. Okay. If you didn't get it right, let me know in a second. So now we're going to find the volume. That's what they asked us for as well. So go back to that page before it in your notes. We're talking about a prism. What's the volume for a prism? What do they have written? Let's start with that. Capital BH. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, I understand that this is a cube and you guys know that it's length times width times height. I know that you know that, but let's pretend it wasn't that easy for when it's not that easy, okay? So I'm going to use the formula here. But again, on a test, if you wanted to take side cubed because that's the formula for the volume of a cube, that's fine too, but it won't always be this easy, okay? So that capital B stands for area of base again. What shape is our base? What shape? A square. What's the area of any square? Side squared, same thing. So side squared. What's the height of our prism? 4.5, right? So isn't that 4.5 cubed technically, right? So go ahead and put 4.5 squared times 4.5 or however you want to do it. Nearest tenth? What do we get? 91.1 meters cubed because it's volume. Okay. Anybody confused? I'm pretending that I don't know that this is a cube. I'm trying to make it not that easy. So you understand this is the formula from the page before it, right? For the volume of a prism. It's capital B times H. That capital B means the area of the base. Our base was a square, so technically that formula is side squared. You said length times width. That's the same, but 4.5 times 4.5 is 4.5 squared, right? And then the height of the prism is 4.5. So that's where everything came from. Does anybody still need that page or need help with your calculator? Okay, great. Let's try one that's not that easy, okay? Find the surface area and volume, again, to the nearest tenth. So what shape is this? Triangular prism. They didn't ask that, but I think some people kind of struggle with that for a bit. So if you need to write that down, you might want to. It's obviously a prism, right? So our surface area formula for a prism is what again? pH plus 2b. I write that down every time, okay? And I have them memorized, and I still write it down. So I don't think that's a terrible idea. So what shape is our base here? Triangles. So you guys understand the parallel sides of the bases, those are the triangles. The parallelograms, the rectangles, just kind of like fill in the shape. So those are never the bases, unless it's a rectangular prism, but anyway. So perimeter of the base. So we've got a 6, an 8, and a, I don't know. Oh, how'd you guys get that so fast? It's on the other side, right? Let's pretend they didn't tell me this was 10, which makes this 10. Let's pretend for 2 seconds they didn't give that to me. How would I find that out? Pythagorean theorem. It's a right triangle, isn't it? So you could have done 6 squared plus 8 squared equals I don't know squared, but they gave you 10, so let's use that, right? So the perimeter of the base is going to be 6 plus 8 plus 10, which I'll do later, okay? If you like to do that as you go, you totally can. I'm just writing down the formula first. What's the height of the prism? Not the height of the triangle, the height of the prism.
6.
That's the triangle.
It's 5.
Okay. I am 5'10", okay? I'm 5'10" high, right? How tall am I now?
5'10".
I'm still 5'10", even though I'm laying down, right? So the prism is laying down, but it's still how high?
5'10".
5, right? Do you guys get what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't like it when the prism's not standing up. They don't understand that's still height, but it's still height. Is that okay? Okay, so 5 plus 2, and then what's that capital B mean again?
Surface area.
Area of the base. One more time, what shape is our base? Triangle. What's the area of any triangle? 1/2 base times height. What's the base of the triangle? 8. What's the height of the triangle? 6. Do you guys see what I'm saying there? Okay. The bases are the parallel sides. So this triangle and this triangle are the bases. Unless it's a rectangular prism, then the ones that aren't rectangles are the bases. Okay, if it's a rectangular prism, then they're all rectangles. So if you have a calculator that shows you your screen, you could just plug this whole thing in, right? And you should get it right, I would think. If you don't, like Sam, you and I would probably like find out what this is, multiply by 5, write it down, find out what this is, and then add them. Probably. That's what I would do. Okay. But if you guys have one that shows you all of this, you could just plug all that in. Whoa. What? This is the goal. Okay. Try it again. If you punch in exactly what I wrote down, that's 8 times 6, not 8.6. Maybe that's the problem. That's a half. So for you, Sam, you should end up getting 120 plus 48. This gets 120 and this gets 48. Okay. No, you're fine. 24 times 5. 6 plus 8 plus 10? Is that 20? Well, yeah, I was looking at it wrong. Oh, 24. You're right. I'm sorry. I was looking at the 120 underneath it and getting...
Oh, I got it. Okay, what was I supposed to get?
168.
Okay, that's right.
Good. Anybody still not getting it right? Okay. If you punch it in exactly how I wrote it down, you'll get it right. Oh, good. Okay. Volume. What is the formula for the volume of any prism? That capital BH. That capital B stands for area of the base, right? One more time. What shape is our base? The triangle. So 1/2 base of the triangle was what again? 8. Height of the triangle? 6. Height of the prism? 5. Right?
These little details are what's getting me.
Yeah. It's laying down. Yeah.
So we solved that.
Yep. 120 centimeters cubed, because volume is always cubed. Take your time, get it right, punch it in. If you're just looking at mine and writing it down, do you see all these people getting it wrong, even though they should be getting it right? You got to practice with your calculator, okay? I'm giving you time to practice with your calculator. Do that. Okay? Anybody still need that page or help? We're good? All right, the surface area of a cube is 54 square inches. That's the same thing as inches squared. It means the same. Find the length of each edge. So what do we not have that I told you to do every time if you don't have it in geometry? Draw a picture. Let's draw a cube. Sort of, right? It's okay if it's not pretty. Something like that. Something like that, right? Okay?
How'd you do that? Can you draw it again?
Sure. Draw a square-ish. Overlapping, right? Connect, Connect. I put a dotted line there, but you don't have to. Okay? So they said the surface area of a cube. So what is the formula for the surface area of a cube? What's a cube? Be less specific. A rectangular prism, a square prism, either way. So what's the surface area of any prism? Uh-huh. Yeah. You can do T or SA. You don't have to memorize it. I let you have a note card. Right? You can memorize it if you want, though. It's helpful. Okay? So surface area equals pH plus 2B, right? They told us the surface area is 54. So where does that go? Where I put the SA, right? So that's nice. Got it. Find the length of each edge. Okay. So what are we going to call each edge if we don't know them? X's, right? And it's a cube, so they're all X's, right? You don't have to put an X everywhere. I just want to make sure you know that. Okay? So let's fill in what we know. P stands for the perimeter of the base. Again, with the cube, we would probably call the base the bottom. It technically doesn't matter. So if I'm talking about the bottom, what shape is that? A square. Perimeter of it would be 4 of the X's, right? The base is X plus X plus X plus X, which is 4X. Is that okay? What's the height? X, right? Plus 2, what shape is the base? A square. What's the area of any square? What's the area of any square? Side squared, which would be X squared.
Oh my gosh, no, I just added X to solve.
Okay, so 54 equals 4X squared plus 2X squared. How many X squareds is that? 6X squareds, right? Algebra 1, we're fine. How do I get X to the 1 times X to the 1? When you multiply, you add exponents.
Where did you get X squared?
This one?
No, like
This one? The area of the base would be side squared. A lot of you guys keep saying length times width. That's not wrong. So you could say X times X if you'd rather. But area of any square is side squared. So each side was X, so I said X squared, right? 4 plus 2. They're like terms. They're both X squared, so there's 6 of them. Okay. How do I get X squared alone? Divide by 6. What's 54 divided by 6? 9. Now what? Square root. When you square root both sides of an equal sign, technically I should say plus or minus 3, technically. But that doesn't make sense. I can't have a negative 3 side. That doesn't make sense, right? So it's just 3 inches. They said surface area, not volume. If they had said volume, you would have checked it that way.
Okay, I got to the 6X squared.
So you have to divide by 6 to get X squared alone. You have to square root it to get X alone. Square root of 9 is 3. Technically, it's a rule from Algebra 1. You're supposed to plus or minus when you do that. But typically in geometry, the negative doesn't make sense. So we had to cross that one off. The only reason I keep doing the plus or minus for you guys in here is so that way on iStep or when you do go to Algebra 2, you don't forget that that was a rule. Okay. 9 times out of 10, we get rid of the negatives though. Anybody have a question? Are you sure? Last one. You have an extra problem down there, right? Okay. The area of the base of a cone, so we're going to draw a cone, is 25 pi square inches. The cone is 12 inches long. Find the surface area. I'm going to draw a cone. Ish. Okay. They said the area of the base of a cone. Okay, I'll come back to that. A cone is 12 inches long. All right, well, that would be the height, right? 12 there. Okay. You can draw it either way. It's still a cone, right? Either way. And then it said find the surface area. So let's start with that. Let's start with the formula for the surface area of a cone. So go back to the page before. What is the surface area of any cone? Mm-hmm. Good. That's the formula. It's on the page before it. Okay. That cursive L is called slant height. This is slant height because it's slanted. Do you guys see what I'm saying? L stands for slant height, so that's where that would be. Okay? And then obviously this is my radius. Okay? So we would fill in whatever we can, but I don't think I can fill anything in, can I? I don't know the radius and I don't know the slant height. No, we don't.
You know
How do you know the radius?
the area of the base is 25.
We don't know the radius yet, but we've used this.
What about 25?
We haven't used this yet, right? They said the area of the base of the cone. What shape is the base of the cone? Circle. What's the formula for the area of any circle? It's pi r squared. Pi r squared. They said it's 25 pi. If I solve this, what am I going to find in a moment? A radius, right? So divide by pi. I don't care how intimidating that is. It just cancels out. Okay? So 25 equals r squared. What do I do to both sides? Square root. So the negative doesn't make sense. So the radius is 5.
Why is there pi over there by 25?
Because they said pi. 25 pi. They're trying to scare you by putting pi in it. But you're not going to be scared by pi. Okay? Pi's not scary. We're fine. All right, so find the surface area. Okay, I'm missing that. I know pi is just a button on my calculator, right? 3.14, da-da-da. Radius is 5. I don't know that yet, so I'll leave it there. Pi, radius is 5. I'm missing too many things, right? I'm missing L, slant height, and I'm missing surface area. One of those I need to find out. The question was surface area, so I'm guessing that's not it yet. How can I find this slant height? Do you guys see this is a right triangle? Okay. So if you don't see that, we have this is 12, this is 5, this is I don't know. Is that okay? So you do Pythagorean theorem, 12 squared plus 5 squared equals slant height squared. Take a moment and find L. When you think you got it, go ahead and shout it out. It's pretty. Should be 13. Everybody take your time, get 13. When you get 13, let's plug it in, okay? The pi, the 5, the 13, plus the pi. You can 5 squared, you can 25, whatever you want.
How'd you get 13?
What's 12 squared? What's 5 squared? Okay. What is 144 plus 25? How do you get L alone? Okay, take the square root of 169, and you should get 13. Okay, so plug this in. Use your pi button. Do not use 3.14. And that's going to be inches squared. Take your time, get there. If you're not understanding it or you're not getting it right, you need to let me know. Okay?